Yo, we in here. What's up? What's up? I see people are in here already. Coop, how you doing on a Monday morning?
New slot time. New slot time. Click like and subscribe to the page. A2HH is going to be pulling up on your midday Mondays from now on for the foreseeable future. So,
Yeah, to be fun.
yeah,
And,
expect a little 12 to 2 action from the guys.
yeah, I mean today we might not give them a full 2 hours, but
Yeah, I don't
we.
know if we got 2 hours worth today. I mean, you never know, Mike, depending on where some of these conversations be going, but we kind
Right.
of tentatively have it slotted for
Yeah, I mean in the future, definitely. I mean the next coming weeks, future. But yeah, today I know that we skipped over. It's funny we had Black Thought's album as a topic of conversation on Friday, and we just kind of was going, and we didn't really talk about the album at all. So we owe people that, and we owe Black Thought that too. Um, yeah, we hardly get a lot of new music, and I know that if we end up putting that one to the back burner, we'll never end up covering it because there's a lot of new music that's coming this Friday. So we figured that we would pull up, talk about that, probably talk about other couple of other things too. Jay Z had a concert in Paris. I think that was Friday.
I think the world knows it by now.
I don't know what he performed. I think somebody who checked in on the show Friday was talking about what he performed, but I find it funny that at a Louis Vuitton show that was supposed to be centered around, Pharrell getting that position, there was a whole lot of Kanye records performed. There wasn't any Neptune records performed. I would imagine that you do Give It To Me, you do Change Clothes, it fits the scene, right?
Frontin'?
I don't know. Somebody get us the track listen. Well, Niggas in Paris is definitely there. Hold on, let me see what did Jay Z perform at the Louis Vuitton show. Somebody
Very
let us know.
problematic that you're researching it. It makes us look shady.
No, I want to ask the people because I don't want to be like off kilter or off base or anything. Somebody brought up a good point though when it comes to AI technology. I wanted to get this in.
There
So
is no good points about AI technology.
I think that there are though, because we always think about who's utilizing this in the wrong way. But couldn't the DLC use this in a positive way? How do you feel about getting new music from the DLC, with him being able to utilize his own voice from before the accident?
You want to know what? I never thought of it that way.
I mean,
No,
because they're
thank
only
you.
covering this one way. You know what I mean? But let's think about him. Let's think about Beanie Siegel, even Shine. I mean, I know Shine's in the politics right now, but I mean, your brain is always there. We talk about how important the voice and all that is. Well, if the DLC can utilize his voice, that is his voice, to make new music, would we be against that?
I'm not against that at all. You know how I feel about the DLC.
So
I think it's
hopefully we
cool.
see some of those things coming around or coming down the pipeline too.
Mhm.
But yeah, I thought about it. I was like, yeah, we get some new music from the DLC, Beanie Siegel, Joel Santana, guys like that because over time for a lot of artists, especially in hip hop, the voice is what changes first. You never really get, I mean, how many rappers have just gotten whacked lyrically where it was like, yo, you just can't write anymore? Most of the time, the stuff that gets the fans to go the other way is the change in voice.
Yeah, but some of it is like the lyrical quality. It happens in every other genre of music too, where it's like,
Hmm.
well, the hits don't slap the same.
Yeah. So,
Like think about when Stevie Wonder did like Skeletons. Remember
mhm,
the Skeletons album?
yeah.
It's like that ain't no damn songs in the key of life or no inner visions, no hotter than July.
But that probably affects the momentum of how your writers are writing because you're seeing that your execution isn't the same. So it's like the momentum. Like imagine somebody's mentioning Ghostface in the chat. Imagine if Ghost goes in there and he has the voice of Supreme Clientele and the reaction from the people in the studio, how much is that going to affect how he's writing on top of how he's sounding?
I think that's immeasurable at this moment in time, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, but I think that the perfect test study would be the DLC. Why not?
Love to hear DLC still got bars. You want to know what? Remember he did Helter Skelter?
Mm-hmm.
It would be cool to hear that with DLC's original voice, just to kind of see how that sounds.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I would love to see it.
Or maybe to hear DLC rap over some of those old Chronic and Doggy Style tracks, because I mean he does have writing credits. I think he definitely has writing credits on Easy Does It and Niggas for Life.
I'm sure he's written
and the
full
Chronic
verses to some of those tracks.
I believe he wrote full songs to those tracks. Matter of fact, when I think about Let Me Ride, don't it sound like DLC to you?
It does. Creeping down that back street on these. I got my Glock cocked cause niggas want these.
As soon as I said it, seems I got sweated by a nigga with a Tech 9 trying to take 9. You want to make noise, make noise. Yeah, that's the DLC.
Yeah. No, that is. And you know, somebody mentioned Inspector Deck too. I mean, that's what we hold. And Deck sounds great right now. I think there was a middle point where, like you were saying, Deck was kind of finding his voice again. Like on that new Wu-Tang record, the whose record is that? I'm sorry. Producer's name slips me right now because I'm getting all kind of phone calls or whatever. He sounds great.
Czarface.
No, not the Czarface. I'm talking about, hold on one second. Hello? Hey, I'm on a live right now. Can I call you right back?
Like, man, we got a new show.
All right, I'll call you right back.
I'm gonna get this money.
Yeah, you know, well, I need to, I guess, cut my phone off too. But yeah, not the Czarface. I was talking about the producer. We just covered it a couple of weeks ago. It'll come to me in a minute. This is terrible. It's a new Wu-Tang-ish song. It's got Wu-Tang. Static Selector. Oh. Thank you, guys. Yes.
Oh, right. The new Wu record.
Yeah. So on the Static Selector record, Deck sounds great.
Mike, see how we talked Jordan House up? Jordan, we were just talking about you pre-show, and we were like, well, maybe doing the show at some different times will bring people like Jordan back, because maybe people like him will have a gap and be able to watch.
Exactly. We appreciate seeing Jordan House and everybody else live, too. You want to get into this thought, or you want to talk about this anniversary for Pray for Paris?
I think we need to do the thought first, just because we did skip over it on Friday. Just
big omission. Yes, Black Thought, along with El Mikel's Affairs, right? Released Glamorous Game. What did you think about the album?
Thought it was a really good project.
I think so too. I think it was very creative. It's, and you know, I don't want to go straight to the comparisons with, you know, what he put out, you know, last year, which feels like just a matter of months ago. I don't know if it was lyrically where those were, but Black Thought is super consistent. And once again, we talk about voice and delivery. He's been able to enhance his voice and delivery over the years, and really enhance his lyricism as well. I think this is a really dope project. One of the 3 best hip-hop albums I've heard all year. What say you?
I agree with you with this top 3 status. It would probably be runner-up for me right now to the Jay Skees for Album of the Year.
Yeah.
If I was picking, this would be my runner-up. There are a myriad of things to break down when you're talking about an MC of Black Thought's caliber. It's hard not to compare it to the last project, because the last project isn't even a year old. I'm not even sure if it's 9 months old. Might be right around 9 months old.
Yeah, something like that.
In No Gold Teeth and Aquamarine, like, this album in a sense cemented their instant classic status in my mind, because there is no Gold Teeth or Aquamarine on here. And it immediately lets you know the level that he was operating on. Yeah. And also lets you know how really dope Cheat Codes truly was.
Right.
And although I don't think this is as good as Cheat Codes, I do think it's an excellent project. And what I really realized was that Thought's first 3 EPs, like the EP joints, like the 9th joint, the who else did he work with?
It was 9th. It was Salaam Remi as well.
Salam. Forget who the 3rd one was, but I realized those joints were practice for Thought to become a full solo album maker.
Mm-hmm.
As a real true solo artist. Like, he's got plenty of solo records with the Roots. We know it. He's done plenty of live shit solo. We know that. But as an actual solo album maker and an artist, even Black Thought, Mike.
Sean C was the other one. Thank you.
Sean C. Even Black Thought, Mike, has had to take time to hone in on the craft, take practice reps and rounds. And what you're really seeing from Black Thought right now is Black Thought is turning into a really dope album maker. Because the questions always was, well, what do those Thought solo albums gonna sound like?
Well, see, the thing is,
now he's got 2, and they're both really dope.
and I see what you're saying is the fact that him not making solo efforts or whatnot. It's like, yes, he's the only person we hear on the Roots albums a lot of the times, right? They got a lot of solo songs on there, but still, as far as like from the creative mindset and the brainchild ability of it, it is a group effort. And so without, the whole Roots collective in there, this is what you're getting from Black Thought. And the fact that he is out here really, like you said, practicing and gearing up his solo abilities and working at it like right in front of our eyes, I think that's a tribute to how great of an MC that he is as well.
That's all-time great stuff. He was already an iconic MC.
Yeah, he didn't have to do this. All this stuff right here is extra. You know what I mean? And this really shows you how much he loves the craft, loves the game, and all of those things. Because he's on the Tonight Show, man. Like, he doesn't have to do any of this stuff, and he's doing this to not just solidify where he is, because he's already solidified and already made in that sense, but he's doing this because he loves emceeing. And for me, and I don't like to, continue to bring this up, but for other people who have these abilities that we hold this high and don't show us these things, to me, it pushes them further to the back.
Well, this was something that I have in my notes. Well, this whole Black Thought thing is why the Andre thing can't be a thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mike. I keep coughing. I really need to get some tea.
Get some tea. You got some water or some tea?
I do. It's early. I'm drinking my fresh grapefruit juice, but it's not helping.
No. Go ahead and do your thing, man.
But what I wanted to say right quick is that look how hard it is for somebody who, like Black Thought, who, like Andre, was in a group and was even carrying more of the work than Andre was. Look how hard it is for this man to make dope solo albums. Look how long it took him. Yeah. So let's not just assume that you can just walk in because you're super talented and make classic shit. It's not easy. People got to stop acting like because people have classic talent that they're going to have classic output, especially if you haven't seen it.
The solo ability. Yeah, go ahead. The solo ability, man, like, that's a whole different chamber. And that's what people got to understand. Like, it's one thing to be a great group member, and we can look at Method Man for that, right? Great example. Like, Method Man has some dope solo stuff, but his dopest moments are within a group setting. You could even hear a difference in intensity with Method Man as a solo act. Look at Method Man on Wu-Tang Forever and look at Method Man on Judgment Day. You know what I mean? And that's no knock to him. It's just different. It's a different energy when you got people around, and you can't discount that.
He's one of those rare people whose all-star abilities actually comes out more when he's around all-star performers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Most people shrink. It's almost like he's better at the all-star game than he is in the regular season games.
And I feel like him and Redman are they're so similar. And happy birthday to Redman, by the way. They're so similar, but they they're contrasting in a sense where I think when Method Man is with somebody, he rises, and I think when Redman is with somebody, Redman's kind of better by himself. You know what I'm saying? Like Redman rises to the occasion as well when he's on features, but Redman by himself is better than Redman paired up with somebody. Redman by himself is better than Redman on the Def Squad.
Because Redman's style is a one-man army, and Redman came in as a soloist.
Yeah. And you have,
I'll be right back.
Yeah, go ahead. Into You Jam for the super chat says, for me, this is the best Black Thought cuts. Heard he's got a project with Yasin Bey. Not sure if that's a one track or a full album though. I would love to hear Yasin and Black Thought together for a full project. I feel like maybe that's something that we really, really, really would have loved to have seen in 2002 or 2001-ish. But, depending on who's producing that, I mean, it's never too late for something like that. But, yes, being a soloist and being a great group member is a whole different chamber. And I think Black Thought is showing that to us right in front of our eyes. He was damn near a soloist in the Roots. But being solo without the Roots or without, that whole collective, it's a whole different thing. We saw that with Chuck D too. Like Chuck D with Public Enemy. Public Enemy is a whole different thing. And even though Chuck D was doing all the rapping. One of my favorite examples of something like this, and I know it's a whole different genre, but it's the same concept with Jodeci. Casey and JoJo, without the Jodeci collective, without Dalvin and Devontae, is different than the Jodeci collective, even though they were doing a majority of the singing in Jodeci. So we have to be very, very mindful of that whole dynamic. And when somebody like a Lauren jumps out of the Fugees and does what she does with the Miseducation, that's an incredible feat. And even though there's a lot of singing stuff on there, but she has some seminal rap moments and rap songs on there as well. So we can't just be handing out the collaborative works that people do and the group works that people do as solo accolades. I think that's a little off base. And like I said, Black Thought has proven that to us. And I think this is a very, very dope project. But again, it's taking him a minute to, to put this chamber together. And now he's on a roll. I think he's just going to keep making stuff. We'll talk about the brains of the production. The brains of the production was Devontae, of course. We all know that. I think Dalvin was seminal on the writing end as well. But again, that lets you know that, when you have group efforts, that stuff sounds slightly different than when people jump out on their own. I mean, because it wasn't like when Black Thought just jumped out on his own, then we're hearing stuff from him as a solo artist that sounds like, the Roots stuff. It's different. You know what I'm saying? Eric Terrell with the super chat says, question is, an album a classic if nobody hears it? Y'all dogging out 3000 for Black Thought, but nobody listens to Cheat Codes. Classic. I didn't say Cheat Codes was a classic. I'm not dogging out 3000. Never would dog out 3000. He means way too much to me personally and way too much to Atlanta and its music scene altogether. But all I'm saying is when we start pulling people out individually as solo acts, we have to consider all of those things. Now, as far as Cheat Codes being a classic, I think we're going off of quality of music, right? And I don't know if I'm going to say Cheat Codes is a classic. And I think that's a really good question, though. Is an album a classic if not a lot of people hear it? We're in an era now where, people are able to put out music freely and, whenever they want to, and it might not have the build-up that other people's albums have, but we have to really judge it on the quality of music. It's hard to judge things on the impact now. Like, I think you guys saw that when we were going through the Song of the Year candidates year to year throughout hip-hop. When you get to this era, the impact is not the same as what it was in like a 95 or even a 2005. The game is different now. We're not gonna have a lot of songs that have the impact of a Dear Mama and stuff in hip hop anymore, or in music in general, because radio doesn't matter. And when you take radio and television out of the equation, then yes, everybody hearing something might need to be taken out of the equation too.
No, that's true. I'll tell you, one of the things that I noticed about the Thought Project is that he listens and pays attention to what people say, because his flow and his cadence is different on this album.
Mm.
The first two records, that's not his typical flow and pattern.
Somebody said cheat codes exist. Andre 3000 solo project does not. I mean, again, and it's not to bring this into the conversation again, but we have to understand that if we're talking about an individual all-time list, you have to have some individual rap work, an all-time individual rap list. I mean, Michael Jackson, and see, he doesn't even apply either because he had solo albums as a kid. But let's just say he didn't, and all he had was Jackson 5 stuff. It would be unfair to put him on an all-time level when he's been in a group his whole time. Like, jumping out there alone is different. I mean, period. Like, it's more different in rap than it is in anything else. But even if you look at the dynamic of Beyonce and Destiny's Child and Beyonce outside of Destiny's Child, it's different. All eyes are on you. There's no room for mistake. It's like a boxing match, man. Like, that's why boxing is the most difficult sport, because you go out there and it's just you. It's no teammates to rely on. It's nobody to pass the buck. It's just you and this other person is trying to knock your head off.
Rap is more writing intensive too.
Yeah.
So it being more writing intensive makes the solo mission more complicated.
Yeah.
And more problematic because it's more difficult inherently. You're taking on more of the bulk of the work.
You gotta write 3 verses as opposed to 1. Right? And so over a course of 4 songs, we're talking 12 verses versus 4. Now, that alone is difficult, right? Or more difficult, let me say. And then on top of that, now you have nobody else to really bounce off of. It's you. You got to make the song dope.
Like, if you're used to, let's say, doing 15 to 20 verses to complete an album with your rhyme partner, you know, those same 15 to 20 verses on a solo project like that'll get you like 4 or 5 songs.
Exactly. And y'all want to talk about Daytona all the time being 7 songs. Well, let's take 14 Andre verses and make a full album out of it. How many songs you got? Mad Max with a super chat. Shout out to Mad Max. He says, "Thought is boring. Nobody trying to hear him elegant rhyming, but nah, he needs to be put through the Rubik's because I don't know how he got that high."
Where is he? He's at 17.
How would you explain to somebody in Mad Max's generation to why Black Thought is a top 20 MC all time?
I mean, lyrically, and the songs are there too. He's got hit records.
It convinced Mad Max. How about that? What songs would you go to?
I mean, I was actually about to say one of the best records on here is That Girl. Black Thought is one of the more underrated rhymers about the opposite sex in terms of like making a song about a woman that we have. Look at You Got Me. Look at Break You Off. Look at The Hypnotic. Like Silent Treatment on Do You Want More. Like, no, he does well in that mode. So I would tell you that. I would tell you he's got classics under his belt with Illadelph and Things Fall Apart. So
I love those records.
I'll be right back.
You good? Right back. Okay. Cool. So I can go get some more tea or whatnot. I think in comparison to somebody like Common, let's say, I think that making that argument for people, making that argument for Black Thought is a little bit more difficult if you want to compare him to somebody like a Common, because I think that for Mad Max, and I'm not speaking on Mad Max's behalf, but I could see from his vantage point, he's like, okay, where's the bangers? and let's just say hypothetically, and no one's talked about this, let's say Black Thought goes into a versus type of situation, and he's able to use the Roots catalog, and he's able to use his solo catalog. Who is the opponent? Is Common out of his weight class when it comes to going song for song? Mad Max with the super chat says, and Daytona being 7 songs isn't the problem. Rakim's paid in full is like 50 minutes. Daytona is under 30. But see, Rakim had those fill-ins with Eric B and all that too that kind of, filled out that album. But, got another super chat. NDU Jams with the super chat says, Black Thought never repeats a rhyme. The question is, who would out-rap who? Black Thought, Common, or Yasin Bey? Who would out-rap who in a cipher? I think if it's Black Thought, Common, and Yasin, in my personal opinion, I'm probably the biggest Yasin fan as far as like just straight up bar rhyming and whatnot. What's up,
Hey,
Chris?
Mike, I'm going to take this upstairs because something down here is activating my allergies.
Okay. You got a call back?
Coming up.
Yeah. That's cool. But I would say, in my personal opinion, it'll probably be Black Thought, then Yasin, and then Common. As far as like if they're all sitting there getting on a beat and we're asking everybody to rhyme and who we think's gonna have the best verse all the way down. But I think the question becomes for somebody like a Mad Max, if Black Thought's in a versus situation with somebody like Common, and he's able to utilize all of his Roots material, his solo material, does he stand a chance against Common? I don't think so. I don't think he stands a chance against Common in a setting like that, in my personal opinion.
In a versus setting, no.
Mad Max to the super chat says, I like Black Thought as a rapper. It's just when I listen to him, it's the same move. It's all slave movie soundtracks to me. That messes with my mental. Not trying to hear that. So you want to hear some flashy shit from Black Thought, I guess. Or again, like I said, bring up Common again because I know a lot of them are always grouped together in that sense. But Common can give you, the light. Common can give you the corners. He can also give you, the food. He tried to do universal mind control, which might not have been the best idea, but Common gives you a little bit of versatility. So are you telling me that you want to see more versatility with somebody like a Black Thought? I mean, because,
he does appear to exist in a certain pocket, Mike. Oh, yeah, I feel much better up here. This is why this album is kind of safe, because he's working with a live band again.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So it is kind of safe in that regard. So if you want to say that it's safe, that's fine.
There's a mix, and I used to feel like this about Black Thought too, and this is why I'm really, really entertaining what Mad Max is saying, because I once upon a time felt like this in regards to Black Thought as well. I was in Birmingham. Shout out to my man Squeeze, man, incredible guitar player, and I was kicking it with him. And I was just crashing because this was like in the early 2000s, and because I had to go to a show or something. I was in town, or just kicking it. And he played this mixtape because he's a big Roots fan. I think it was a Philly mixtape where I think Black Thought made with like Petey Crack and these guys. It was the first time I had heard Black Thought away from the Roots. And it was on some street shit. And Black Thought was killing it. And I was like, yo, I think I've underrated Black Thought over the years. Because again, everything that I had heard had taken on a certain tone and a certain chamber. My initial thought after hearing that was like, damn, have the Roots held Black Thought back in these conversations?
Mm-hmm.
But I think the Roots also have elevated Black Thought as well, because they exist in a chamber of their own. You know what I mean? Like, just being with the Roots makes you different anyway.
I think that novelty wore off after the whole You Got Me thing. So it's like, although I get it, that's like good buy-in stuff. But they had also made like a couple of classic albums. So, you know what I mean? I think after their classic album making run, or borderline classic album making run, like, because a lot of people feel like, do you want more as a classic? I think it starts with Illadelph, and Things Fall Apart. I think those are their two classics. And I think they've got a lot of great stuff around it, like Do You Want More, Phrenology. I feel like I'm missing an album.
Well, Do You Want More? Phrenology. I We are missing an album. I know the people in the chat are gonna say it. Mad Max in the super chat.
Is it Game Theory?
Yeah, Game Theory. That's the one I was thinking about. Yeah.
Oh yes, and The Tipping Point.
Yeah.
So they've got stuff.
Yeah. Mad Max in the super chat says, that's my issue with all the conscious rappers because it's so depressing. I only heard Nas speak about positive aspects of Black history, not just the suffering. So you think that the vantage point from a lot of the conscious community is very one-sided. I could see that. The tone is a certain way where it's like, and I know, and I'm only saying this because Common kind of was saying this about Pac. I remember hearing Common on the radio show in Chicago. He was talking about his top 5, and he didn't say Pac or something. And he made the statement that it's only so many times you can say, Hennessy, enemies, and and all that stuff, right? And I'm thinking like, well, Common also says the struggle, the hustle, and all that, and it does get repetitive. I could see where somebody like Mad Max is coming from with that. What Biggie did, and Pac too, they made it where these artists being able to just exist in their own chamber, they open that up where we expect everybody to be able to do a lot of things. Nas had to adjust to that. Nas could have just lived in that Illmatic chamber, but when these guys were around, that wasn't enough anymore. Now you got to be able to make a If I Ruled the World. You got to be able to have the street tales, the hit records. And I think Big and Pac really opened that door for that, because before that, it was kind of LL was known for being the hit guy. He wasn't going to give cult street classics like that. You know what I mean? And he would from time to time, but he wasn't expected to do that.
He wasn't making Wanted Dead or Alive like Cool G Records.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Like everybody was able to exist in their own thing. And what Tupac and Biggie kind of opened up was like, no, nigga, we can do everything. And so when we're talking about the greats now, and especially in that time period, we expected them to be able to do everything. Jay-Z making Reasonable Doubt again wasn't going to be enough, even though we all feel like that's probably his best album. But he still had to be able to expand, and the reason why he had to do that is because of Pac and Biggie, really.
Oh yeah, that was a great buy-in, but that wasn't gonna get you any victories.
Yeah, I mean, we see how Illmatic got treated in relation to Ready to Die. I mean, it was right there in real time.
In revisionist history, though, I think that was more Doggy Style. Now that I'm looking back on it, because Doggy Style is before Illmatic.
Oh, definitely.
Gin and Juice, Gin and Juice is literally dropping. You know what I'm saying? Right.
You're right. Doggy Style is the core of that. I think Bad Boy's response to Doggy Style was Ready to Die.
They had more time to make in a response, because what it seems like to me is that, well, Illmatic and Doggy Style are getting worked on at the same time.
Right. And I think Puff or whoever else was involved was like, look.
Puff and Big are a little bit later, I think. I don't know. But it just seems, and stylistically kind of sounds that way too. Mm-hmm. Because even listen to the intro to Ready to Die. What are they playing when Big's getting out of jail?
Yeah.
Stop and pop. So it's like, you're playing the shiznit while Big's getting out of jail. Oh, you're watching.
They're letting you know. They understand
the first song is a Dr. Dre sample from Lil Ghetto Boy. Things done changed on this side. Remember they used to thump, but now they blast, right?
Yep. KC1 with the super chat says, Thought got away from that from the white man's darling, Questlove.
Oh, I feel so much better. I don't know what the hell is downstairs. I'm gonna have to open up the window or something, because I literally felt like I was suffocating, like my chest was getting tight and all that.
That's crazy, man. Yeah, check that out. Yeah. KC1 says thought got away from the white man's darling, Questlove. Y'all said it. I did not.
Y'all talking like that. Y'all been listening to Mike D. Y'all been listening to Mike D too much.
I haven't said any of those things, but people make their own observations, I guess.
I didn't say that you said it. I just said they've been listening to you.
Hey, look, people see what's going on out here. People see that, who gets paraded around here, and you know, 88.
Get paraded around here like it's a pageant.
He does, man. They parade Questlove around whenever necessary.
Welcome to
88.
Mondays. Welcome to Mondays at A2HH. Same
Yeah.
same Mike D.
Just keeping it real, man. 88 Spencer with the super chat says, money making Jam Boys mixtape. That's it. That's exactly what it was. I heard the money making Jam Boys mixtape, and I was like, yo, I've been sleeping on Thought. You heard that?
No.
No, check that out.
I didn't need to hear that. I mean, I've been up on. When I was getting hip to Do You Want More via Illadelph, I had somebody at the record store that Manifest once again put me on to Organics.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to hear Organics. Do You Want More Illadelph? I was like, oh, sign me up.
Well, who do you think that all right, let's just say it got put in the lexicon. I don't even know if Versus is still going or if it's over. But let's just say hypothetically, Versus is still going on, right? Mm-hmm. Who do you put Black Thought in a Versus with?
He's a problem on a few levels for a few reasons. Not just like as an MC, which is like obvious, but
does he beat a top 20 talent? I guess is where I'm at.
You want to know what? What I would tell you is that in a strange kind of way, he's got a catalog that's very comparable to Scarface's in the sense that it's like he's got great group work. Mm-hmm. We know who he is as an MC. He doesn't have Scarface's solo work, but he's got that group work and that solo work now. Mm-hmm. But the records, maybe. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, well, what 20 records are you picking of his? Because in that type of format, that maybe doesn't notarize what he does best. What Face does best is make you feel. And that may not play best for this format. What Thought does best is give you lyrical exercise. They may not fit best in this format.
Yeah.
And so picking somebody for him would be tough. They'd have to come from a great group, from one. They would have to be highly regarded as an MC and a talent. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so it's like, I don't know if anybody fit. I would say Most comes to mind, but I don't think Most has enough material to even compete with Thought.
I think Most could stretch it out. We got the Black Star album.
Most, how about this? Most has enough material to compete, but this is what I'm saying about Thought. It's like, oh, if you that high on Most, I'll show you Black Thought stuff, and Most not's beating that Root stuff. Like the Black Star stuff's not better than the Root stuff. Like both of their albums, like go take those two Black Star albums and then go play Illadelph.
Well, I wouldn't even play the second album because, once again, not a lot of people heard that.
Go play Illadelph and Things Fall Apart versus their two albums. It's like, man.
Well, I'm talking about individual songs, though, because Mos Def could get creative. Yasin could get creative with, like, features. He could get creative with like the Brown Sugar soundtrack stuff.
Thoughts got super lyrical with Pun. That's a favorite of people.
I mean, Most got Respiration. Definition.
What They Do.
Yeah.
Concerto, the Desperado, the Hypnotic. He's got the joint with Q-Tip. He's actually got the You and I Verse at War joint with Common. And the Love of My Life joint with Common. He's got Double Trouble with Most. He's got Adrenaline. He's got You Got Me. He's got Break You Off. He's got some stuff, man. He's got Don't Say Nothing.
But for somebody with a catalog like his, it feels like...
Like, think about this. It's like, even though what they do...
This shouldn't even be a conversation, though, based on the output. You know what I mean?
Right, but what I'm saying is that, like, those Thought records... A lot of those Roots records that were big hits are really Thought solo records. It's like their three biggest songs are Thought solo records. What They Do.
Yeah. You
Got Me. And Break You Off. That's Thought on a solo mission.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely.
So it's like he has all of those. You know what I'm saying? Like, not even Most has that. Most doesn't have three records like that.
Most doesn't have three records like that.
Not as a solo artist. It's actually like viable, like hits. You know what I'm saying? So it's like he's a little better than you think. And as far as like the lyrical stuff, that's what I'm saying. He's got stuff like Concerto of the Desperado. He's got Rock You. He's got what's the joint on I told you, man, thought when he's doing Kane and Cool G Rap's voice on the tipping point. Yeah, stuff like that's a problem, man.
You know what? Maybe this is me being a fan talking. And I know that, Thought has a whole lot of material. But I would be comfortable in picking Yasin. But I would have to get very, very creative. You know what I'm saying? I would have to get
See, that's the thing about it. I wouldn't have to get creative with Thought. Right. I could just go pick like the best Roots joints, and I could. You could beat a lot of guys. So what I would tell you, I forgot about the Next Movement. Remember the Next Movement?
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that like a Thought solo mission?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like most of the Roots hits are like Thought solo missions.
No, definitely.
Clones. They got Clones.
A record that I like The Fire, man. I like that record.
Right. Push Up Your Lighter with Bahamadia. Like, man, they got records everywhere. The Hypnotic with D'Angelo. What's the joint? Proceed, Mike?
Yeah, Proceed.
Oh, Do You Want More? Yeah. No, Thought got joints. Thought got records.
Man, back to the super chat says,
Thought was a proven song maker by himself within the confines of his group decades ago.
Mad Max says, this is why I give KRS credit. Sound of the Police is fire. You have to make those topics entertaining, with energy or diverse. Diverse it, not just the change is gonna come song. And to piggyback on that, Mad Max, KRS and Public Enemy did a great job back then of making messaging entertaining. I don't know where the conscious community kind of got this sound where everything kind of dialed down and was a lot more laid back. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Does that start with Common? With Resurrection? Like, I don't know. Maybe that starts with Tribe to a degree. I don't even think he was
accepted into that faction of the community yet during Resurrection time.
Right,
you know what I mean? It's like they kind of didn't invite, like Common got invited to like the Conscious Party somewhere between like 95 to 97.
Oh man, somebody mentioned Know That. Yeah, I would love to do a Most and Black Thought / Roots matchup. But like I said, based on the amount of material that Thought has, this really shouldn't even be a conversation.
I'm saying we can do the matchup and we can do like a station head if you want, but I'm going to show you like it's not going to be the matchup that y'all thinking it is. It's not. I'm sorry. It's not. You don't got enough records.
It shouldn't be. Eric Terrell with the super chat.
It's not. And I'm telling you that it's not. Like, do not let these people fool you by Moses' 5 or 6 best records. It's not 20.
Oh, no. Yeah, 20. It gets real deep with 20. Eric Terrell with the super chat says, if it doesn't change music, it's not classic. Well, I mean, what's the last hip-hop album that we had that changed music? If that's the barometer.
How about this? Because To Pimp a Butterfly didn't change anything, but we called it a classic.
It's true.
So it doesn't have to change music for it to be a classic.
I mean, did Mr. Morale change anything? Because we see that Mr. Morale's getting all kind of push, all kind of conversation. It's getting now. I think that when you look at Kendrick, you look at Drake. I wouldn't even say Cole so much, but those guys, whenever they come out, it feels like the old school promotional machine of the music industry again. When those guys come out, so when they come out, they get all the fanfare, they get all the television, they get all of this stuff, and it still doesn't quote unquote change music. You know what I'm saying?
It's an old archetype. Right?
Yeah.
Like that's an old motif, like respectfully speaking, like in terms of like how you look at it.
Yeah, because somebody said Peppers. That's a good one. Yeah, man, I would feel comfortable. NDU Jams in the super chat says,
that's what I'm saying. Like Peppers ain't his track. Like, you know what I mean? But like if you got to pull stuff like that, it's like, okay, like you're gonna be in trouble. Black Thought's done way more work than y'all realize.
NDU Jam says, which one of the songs is a classic between Miss Fat Booty and the Next Movement? I mean,
that's what I mean. Like Miss Fat Booty might beat whatever top notch Thought record from the Roots that I put in there.
Mm-hmm.
But then the next 4 or 5 or 6 songs, Thought's gonna win, because it's like after Miss Fat Booty beats You Got Me, no, I still got Clones. I still got What They Do. I still got Break You Off. Like, I still got these other records, and you don't have these other records. Like Mathematics, Umi Says, and Mrs. Fat Booty and Respiration are only gonna take you so far.
2 words, United States, no love, no breaks, low brow, high stakes, crack smoke, black folks, Big Mac, fat folks, ecstasy capsules, presidential scandals. Everybody move.
You don't want to do it.
Oh, yo. Priority. The record with Slick Rick. Yeah, Auditorium. Yeah, man, you know. Most got some joints, though. But yes, about this album, though. Are we ready to rate this album, or what would you do? You think this album's gonna make a imprint on 2023? Because I know, I mean, let's just be perfectly honest, we haven't really seen a lot in 2023 hip hop wise as far as albums. Does it make a dent, or are we still gonna just be talking about cheat codes?
I think because of No Gold Teeth and Aquamarine, we're probably still going to be talking about cheat codes.
Yeah.
But this is what I mean is that, well, I think, I can tell from how he delivered on this album, like literally his delivery on this album, he's paying attention to what people say, but he's probably also paying attention to the pace at which things are done now. So what I would tell you is that I would not be surprised if this is kind of just a warm up to a bigger project this year.
Okay.
And this is probably some warm-up stuff, because I'm realizing that it's like he intentionally, I think, used a live band on this one to kind of get back into that aesthetic. Because here's what I realized when I did listen to this album. This is the first time you're hearing him behind a live band without the Roots. And you can see what he kind of compromised artistically in terms of his vision when you hear him behind the live band again. It's like, oh, this was more kind of like how you wanted to do it. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you. If this is his idea of wanting to do it, he's going to need to make it a little bit more entertaining, because what happens when you're in the studio with somebody like Black Thought? Well, it's Black Thought. So whoever's doing the beat might be feeling a little uncomfortable saying like, hey, you want to know what? Like, I'm really not feeling that. Can we pick a different subject? Or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He is the caliber of a lyricist as like a Nas and a Lupe. And so in that regard, you kind of sometimes maybe need to tell guys of that caliber, be like, hey, not like that. You know what I mean? That ain't going to, that's why I've always liked the Hit Boy pairing so much. And I told you I was looking forward to maybe Thought working with Danger Mouse some more, because it's like I heard Hit giving Nas injections of some different things that he wasn't getting sound and style-wise and artist-wise prior to. I feel like Thought could be the same benefactor of some of those things. This is why I said some of those things, because the truth of the matter is that you got to be a Thought lover to love this album. And he's a solo artist now, so that's not necessarily how this game is played, because most of our acquaintance with you is via the Roots and via live performance.
So you're saying he's not pulling in anybody new with this album?
But it's a good project. Like, me as a Black Thought fan, no, I am rather enjoying the project. But I've been listening to Black Thought since like 1995. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh man, I will pull Traveling Man out of the arsenal. Sunshine out of the... Oh, man. I would have fun with my Mos Def picks. I'm a Mos Def fan, though. Kind of like what you're saying about Thought. Like,
I hear what you're saying. Like, you understand I was naming the Roots records. I'm not even talking about Aquamarine or No Gold Teeth, which is going to wipe some of those Mos records, like, completely. Like,
I really want to do this now. At first, I was kind of like, but
you don't
I really want to do
this. Like, for real, like, here's how I felt about cheat codes. Like, from the moment I heard No Gold Teeth, I was like, man, if you make a couple more of those, it's a problem, because I think you're forgetting. It's like, well, no, I can play No Gold Teeth. I can play Aquamarine. I can play the Strangers joint. Like, no, Mike, I don't think you want to do it. I got Super Lyrical upon. He's done a lot of stuff. I don't want to give away like too much of my stuff, but Thought's been on a lot of joints and Reg Shop on a lot of people's shit.
Yeah, he has. Rigor Raw, shout out to you, man. Yes, click like and subscribe. Hit the thumbs up so people know we live. All that stuff.
Oh,
it
and this
makes you
album isn't as
appreciate.
lyrical as Cheat Codes, but I think that was intentional.
You know what? It makes you appreciate currency, right? And this is no knock. And I think that's why I brought up the mixtape that I was talking about with Thought. Do we want to see Thought go out there and try to make an Electric Circus a Universal Mind Control? Because even though I like Electric Circus, let me be on the record and say that, but I think Universal Mind Control is the worst Common album ever made. But I will respect the fact that he went out there and tried to do something different. Do we want to see Thought go out there and live outside of his comfort zone just so we can see if he can nail it? You know what I mean? And that's why I brought up Currency and the Jermaine Dupri thing. We didn't see that one coming, and they nailed it.
Here's what I mean. He doesn't have to live outside of his comfort zone. The cool thing about him being in a live band with the Roots is that they were experimental. He has tried a lot of things. Like, how about this? I think this album, see, he would never do it because he's not that guy, and I think he's just got a steez about him now and a legend about him at this point. Mm-hmm. But that's what I'm saying. Like, Mike, he's very, very convincing as a ladies' man. You get what I'm saying? When he speaks, when he spits it on record. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, I would have liked to heard him switch it up with a live band and do something like that, like on some Big Daddy Kane lyrical shit. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If you want to talk about like switching it up persona and steez wise, because through the records, like You Got Me, Break You Off, Hypnotic, even the That Girl record on this one, it's like, oh, well, you obviously have the capability to do that. You feel me? So it's like, that could be the switch up. All the like superhero rap stuff, it's like, well, we already know he has a superhero rap stuff, Mike. Like when you play 2 words, I'm gonna go ahead and play Making of a Murderer and murder you, Mike. Like that's what I'm saying. Like you don't want to do it, Mike.
That doesn't murder 2 words, man.
It does. It's a better verse too. I'm an ocean without a coast, going back to Cali, nigga.
We got to do this, man, because this would be fun to do on a station head or whatnot. Get the people involved.
No, you know
is there a way that the
like
people could vote?
Because this one is actually like requires some work out of the both of us to put together a list. It isn't just like, oh, well, check. No.
A lot of Mos Def's great stuff, though, I don't know if it's on streaming platforms. So that was the only hesitation that I had because I don't think Auditorium's on there.
Well, that's really not my problem. It sounds like a Yasin fan problem.
Well, yeah, I'm definitely not going to be able to use anything from the new Black Star album. So
very problematic.
Yeah,
you think you stand a chance against? You think you stand a chance against Black Thought without a full arsenal?
Nah, I'm definitely gonna need that Auditorium album. I'm definitely gonna need that. I need top priority. Peaceful.
You're gonna need an auditorium of people behind you too. You're not just gonna
Let me see if DJ Honda Traveling Man is available. Let's see. Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, I'm gonna need priority though. Peace before everything. God before anything.
It's probably somewhere on like some sort of compilation, maybe if you search through Spotify or Apple, maybe.
Yeah, Yasin's gonna make me really, really dig because his stuff's not available everywhere. But yeah, I think that if we be perfectly transparent here, the only trepidation that people would have about Black Thought being so high on a list is because of the, I guess, lack of versatility and lack of big records. And I think even just this conversation and the fact that we would both have to dig kind of, speaks to that. But if we're talking about just getting on the mic and, catching wreck, there's not many people that can stand with Thought.
Okay, so here's what
Brian with the super chat says, Coop, what are your thoughts on is an album a classic if not a lot of people hear it? Mike gave his thoughts, but you weren't here.
I think it needs to be available for people to hear. Because when you're saying, did everybody hear it? Are you basing that on record sales? Because what happens if like one person purchases an album, but it's like 4 20-year-old kids and their roommates? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And all 4 kids in that confine listen to that one album that one person purchased. Are we counting that one person? Or are we counting those 4 people in the house that heard that project? Because maybe the person that bought it is like, oh, that's not a classic. But what if the other 3 people that heard it with him is like, yeah, that shit's classic, but that never gets charted as a sale.
I think that becomes a dangerous thing in a sense where it's like, okay, so how many people need to hear it for it to be classic at that point? Like, then you start reaching a number marker where it's like, okay, well, it's not. You have cult classics, right? You have classics like Blue and Exile's Below the Heavens. The masses didn't really hear that album or take to that album, but it's a classic. Same thing with Madvillainy. You know what I'm saying? It's a classic. And if you were to go on the street today and ask 10 people about that album, you might get one person that could give you some conversation about that album. That doesn't take away from its classic nature. Because even having a niche classic is a classic. Now, it might not be as classic as Get Rich or Die Trying, because it's hard for an album to beat a monster like that or Doggy Style, but that doesn't take away from its classic status. Not all classics are, built the same. They're classic for different reasons.
That is correct. That's what I mean. A lot of people felt like Resurrection was a classic from Common, who went by Common Sense at the time when it came out.
Yeah.
I don't even think it did Illmatic numbers.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I don't remember seeing, I'm going to keep it real, man. I don't remember seeing anything from Resurrection on TV when I was coming up. And I know I didn't hear it on the radio. I didn't hear about, really, I Used to Love It until after the fact. It wasn't like in 94 that shit was ringing everywhere. It wasn't. Not here. I know it was in Chicago, I'm sure, but not here. And that doesn't take away from its classic status because I didn't hear it. You know what I mean?
If memory serves, Mike, Paid in Full sold 800,000 copies when it first came out. It didn't go platinum. It's Paid in Full, Mike. Yep. It only sold 800,000 copies. So it's like we can't judge it like on units. It is really a consensus of what our culture feels. Like I remember when I was talking to somebody in the music business when the Clips dropped Hell Hath No Fury. And he's like, man, it's like, this is a classic that they just not going to hear. He's like, because you can't play these records on radio. He's like, they're great. He's like, they're fucking amazing. He's like, you can't.
Let's look at Reasonable Doubt. In 1996, for most people, Reasonable Doubt was not a classic. It wasn't a classic until that man that was on that album got big enough for people to acknowledge that. That didn't change the music. The music is what it is. The Evils is what it is, regardless of what Jay-Z became. But that doesn't take away from the fact that it's a classic because not a lot of people heard it.
You know who called it? I think Big Les was in the back of the Source at the 96 wrap-up. Mm-hmm. And I remember she was like, Reasonable Doubt's going to go down like a classic, you mark my words. So I think Big Les called it.
The music speaks for itself. And again, if we dial ourselves back to 1996, outside of the tri-state area, people weren't playing that album like that. And that doesn't take away from the fact that it's a classic.
No, ain't no got radio play.
Soundtrack, though.
And I felt like Feeling It got video play.
I remember hearing Feeling It late at night here. I would hear Can't Knock the Hustle maybe from time to time in the mix. Ain't No Nigga kind of got a lot of pub because of the Nutty Professor.
was making some countdowns down here summer of 96. I remember.
What's that?
Can't Knock the Hustle was making some countdowns down here.
That's the Mary thing. And the same thing with Ain't No Nigga. That was more about Foxy and the Nutty Professor soundtrack that summer. So all those elements came into play, and that's not to denigrate that process because I think that was smart. All I'm saying is because everybody wasn't playing it like they played the Blueprint doesn't take away from the fact that that album's a classic.
No. You're absolutely right.
Eric Terrell with the Super Chat says, you reaching, Coop, now. Thought is Big Daddy Kane? Stop. Peter Parks with the Super Chat says, you guys are top...
songs. Hold on. He's got more hit songs for the ladies than Kane does. Boom.
Does he?
How many does Kane have?
Okay. It's an interesting take. I never really heard that.
See, it's about it's about the perception of it. That's why I would have liked him to take him for him to take on that kind of Big Daddy Kane, like ladies man kind of like frame of mind, because he actually has more records than Kane like that. Right. Well, that are actually like higher level. Well, like Kane be talking more. Like, does Kane have a You Got Me or a Break You Off?
Well,
or even a Hypnotic. Does he? No. Like, it's a yes or no question. Does he?
You know what?
I ain't heard it.
No, I'm with you, but it wouldn't be an A2HH live show if I didn't bring up Kanye West. Kanye saw this in common with The Light, and as a producer, he honed in on that and made Common a marketable entity with the ladies. He did that. Black Thought could have gotten that same treatment if somebody like a Kanye West was smart enough to, go that lane. He saw what The Light was doing. He saw how women viewed Common, and he was like, okay, put this beanie on or whatever. You know what I'm saying? We're going to go with this Go joint. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have you with the ladies. I Want You, all that stuff. I know he didn't make I Want You, but that direction is everything. You know what I'm saying?
And even bringing the Dilla track back with D'Angelo, You've Come So Far.
Mm-hmm.
Like redoing the vocals of that shit. Yeah, that's for the ladies. Yeah.
I know chicks my age at the time were like, they thought B was Common's first album. Crazy, right? Peter Parks with the super chat says, you guys are top tier. Salute to y'all too. Y'all are top tier as well. Real hip hop fans are in the building. Eric Terrell with the super chat says, if it's not at the cookout, it's not classic. What are people playing at the cookout these days that's new? Like, what are the young people playing at the cookouts?
Right, because like, I'm gonna be honest with you, like, you ain't about to be playing like some of that around my mama and my aunties. Like, you don't.
Well, you could hear some Thug or whatever. You know what
I mean? You might hear if it ain't about the money, but it's like you better protect your neck. You know what I'm saying? But you need to do like Wu-Tang Clan.
I'm sure there's some young stuff that gets thrown in the mix with the cookout or whatnot.
I mean, when you're saying like young stuff, like qualify.
Let's see. They might throw on a Lil Baby record. You might hear a DaBaby record. You might hear a Megan record.
I might be cool with that.
Yeah. I'll tell you what you ain't gonna hear.
Which Megan record? You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You ain't gonna be talking that way around my mama and my aunties. I'm trying to tell you.
I'll tell you what you won't hear. Hi, kids. Do you like Primus? Andrew Green.
Did you watch Mike? Did you watch the Armin interview where he talked about Eminem?
Very good interview, by the way. And if people hadn't seen the Armin interview, go to it. It's on this channel. Coop had an incredible discussion with him and Young Boot too. So yeah, check those interviews out if you hadn't checked it out. But yeah, I feel where Armin's going with his Eminem influence. I get it. I just be messing around sometimes. Andrew Green with the super chat says, I saw a question on Twitter asking if any rap artist has 5 classics. I think Nas, Jay, Kanye, and Outkast for a group can be argued. What say you guys? 5 classic albums. Off the top of my head, and I measure classics very tough, I'm going to say no. But that's off the top of my head. I mean, it's very hard to find anybody in any genre with 5 classic albums.
I agree.
So I'm not just designating my no to hip hop. It's
very different. Right, because this is what I would tell you. It's like, well, shit, as a Prince fan, I'm not sure if Prince has 5 classics.
Yeah, as a Michael fan, I don't think Michael has 5 classics.
No, because I'm thinking like, well, there's Purple Rain and Sign of the Times. That's obvious.
Because what happens when you make a classic, right? And let's just use Jay-Z for instance, and Nas. Once you make a classic, then that's the level, right? And it becomes dishonest to say that Jay-Z has 5 albums that are Reasonable Doubt level. Or even close.
And this is what I was actually about to say. So listen to what I'm about to say. That's why I was bringing up the Prince thing, because it's like, well, there are a lot of people that feel like Controversy in 1999 are classics. And maybe 1999 still is. But after you listen to Purple Rain and Sign of the Times, and then you go back to listen to Dirty Mind and Controversy, you can't necessarily tell me that those albums are classic. Like, they're really great albums. They are. It's really groundbreaking. It's some really wonderfully nasty songwriting. But
it's as far as those levels, and because
so
Michael and Prince knocked it out the park with Thriller, Off the Wall, Sign of the Times, and Purple Rain. The closest to that conversation with the levels is Stevie and Janet, actually. Because Janet dropped a classic and then dropped another classic that's at that level. And then, the Janet album, it could be considered at that level too. Like, and Velvet Rope too.
I think Velvet Rope is a step down from the previous three.
It is. From the hit-making standpoint. But what Velvet Rope has that the other three don't is that cohesive album. Like, you know what I mean? The way it flows. Artistically, the way it flows. But it's missing the hits that the other three have.
Right, because here's what I'll tell you. It's like, as much as even I love 1999, people are like, no, 1999 is a classic. Got 1999, got Little Red Corvette. It's like, no. I get it. But, like, you have to understand, like, the songs that weren't singles on Purple Rain and on Thriller, have you heard those songs?
Right.
That's what we're talking about. They were already bona fide hit makers. Like, 1999 sold like 4 or 5 million records. Right. So he was already a big thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That Purple Rain, that Sign of the Time shit, Mike, it's like, you like, ugh.
Hello? Yeah, I'm online right now. Can I hit you right back? All right. Yeah.
So,
yeah, my bad.
I'm with you. Like, I would tell you that Stevie with Talking Book, Inner Visions.
Yep.
Songs in the Key of Life.
Yeah.
Hotter Than July.
Oh, Hotter Than July. I wasn't even going to go there, even though Hotter Than July.
And what is it? First for Fullness Finale?
Yep. Those were the ones I was going to go with.
That's
but
five
Hotter
right
Than
there.
July.
That's not even the secret. That's not even going to the secret Life of Plants or Soul Aquarium or you know what I mean? Yeah. He's got them. It's like he got like a spades hand. It's like, man, I got 5 and 2, 3 possibles. That's what Stevie catalog looked like. So Stevie's probably the guy. Yeah. Like Hotter Than July with Rockin' Love.
Yeah. Hotter Than July got joints. And people felt like Hotter Than July was a step down from what Stevie was doing.
It's a step down, Mike, but it's like when it's like a step down, it's like a half a step down. But he just went on the best run of music we had ever heard anybody make too.
I think that album
it was also 81, Mike. It was just time. It was like 80, 81. It was like time. Stevie had shit on lock for like a decade, Mike. Like really had it on lock in black music for a decade.
Album for album, though. I would say that Nas is probably the closest to that 5, but everybody else, man, I mean, all right, let's entertain the Kanye thing. Let's just say College Dropout, Late Registration, Graduation, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. That is 4. One could argue the classic nature, 808s and Heartbreaks, and Yeezus, because I've heard people say that about Yeezus as well. So that could be argued, I guess. And I guess you could make that same argument for Nas as well.
Right. Here's how we really need to look at it, though. You notice how when we be talking about Thriller and Off the Wall and like Purple Rain and Sign of the Times, don't nobody be arguing with us and shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When it's really like we all know, and so we really do have to base it on what the consensus minds thinks. Because if it's coming with a caveat, then it's not a classic. Because when you have to say, well, I would even venture to say because of the impact. No, if you have to venture to say, in my mind, it's not a classic. So let's say Ye has 4.
4, yeah. He has 4 definitive.
I think Nas, you have Illmatic, Stillmatic. It was written. And I mean, for me, I say Lost Tapes.
Okay.
Like that's just me personally. You know
and I think that KD3 and Magic can be argued, and maybe it's too soon to make that argument, but see, but this is what I mean about like the argument of it. There are people that feel like Life is Good as a classic. You know what I mean? It's like to some people it is, but like we talking about something that like when people pull up, it's like, no, pull up. And so for me, I would tell you that he has a definite 4 in Illmatic, Stillmatic. It was written in the Lost Tapes. You know what I'm saying? With Jay, I think the definites are Reasonable Doubt, The Blueprint, Black Album.
And the Black Album.
And after that, it kind of gets murky. If you want to say volume 2, I'm okay with that. But, you know,
Right.
that's to each his own at that point.
His fourth is volume 2, and I think that's more shrouded in the lore than the quality.
Yeah.
So we got 3 and Impossible. But yeah, it would probably be those 3 guys, though. But there are a lot of guys walking around with like 2 or 3, Mike. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like Rakim's walking around with 3.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? KRS, Mike KRS.
Mm-hmm.
KRS walking around with about 4 too.
Mm-hmm. He is. Eric Terrell with the super chat says, if grandmama, mama, kids dance into it, it's a classic. Well, we don't have a lot of classics that are being made now, then, if that's the barometer. Jay Short with the super chat says, are you guys surprised at experimental approach of Thought's solo career? A lot of his EPs and producers that are known for trying different sounds. Lots of EPs and producers that are known for trying different sounds. Not surprised at all.
I really enjoyed the Danger Mouse pairing.
I think we need to get more of that. I think what's happening with Thought, he is trying a lot of things, and he's trying, okay, I did this with Danger Mouse, now I need to move on to the next thing. Now I think him and Danger Mouse need to do another one, in my opinion.
Me too.
Jay Short in the super chat says, Prince's 1999 is a classic for its impact, like 808s. Timbaland Timbaland been reworking 1999 for Justin Timberlake for years.
And he's been failing at it.
Eric Terrell with the super chat says, Purple Rain, his second, 1999, Sign of the Times, Diamonds and Pearls.
See, just for me as a Prince fan, personally, feel like he has about 7. But I'm talking about those consensus that nobody can argue about. Because here's the thing. Like, no, you can argue about Diamonds and Pearls. I do feel like 1999 is a classic.
Mm-hmm.
So if you wanted to say 3, that's cool. But it's like that 4th one, like Dirty Mind, Controversy. It's like, no, I don't know about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, how about this? Go play Dirty Mind or Controversy next to some of those albums Ring Rangoff and Stevie's run, and you'll kind of get what I'm talking about. It's like, that's not Intervisions or something. You know what I mean? 1999, Purple Rain, Sign of the Times. No. You can play that right next to Stevie's shit. You know what I'm saying?
Bad is a classic, but I don't think it's a very great album, in my opinion.
Right, Mike. A lot of people feel like Bad's a classic. It's like 4.5 mics.
It's got a lot of hits on it. It has it broke a lot of records. I think the visuals, and I've said this before, I think the visuals on Bad kind of dilute people's vision of the music. Like, it dilutes how you look at the music because the visuals just so spectacular, right? If we didn't have those visuals to go along with the album, I don't know if a lot of people would feel the way they feel about Bad as an album. We strip it down to the music. You know what I mean? It's a good album.
I just love that Michael Jackson is talking about groupie love on Bad. Little Dirty Diana.
Yeah, Dirty Diana's a great record. Now that's one of those that, you know, even without the video.
Song ever, Mike. It's the best groupie song ever. Mike's bar work is impeccable on Dirty Diana. Have you heard what he's talking about?
Oh yeah. I mean,
not a game. Mike's spitting game on Dirty Diana.
Mike sounds great on Bad vocally. I think my biggest thing is the production on Bad. I think Bad was put together for performance purposes and not for, you know, timeless music purposes. Rod Temperton's no longer in pocket. Yeah,
Liberian Girl's the best beat.
Production wise, Liberian Girl's probably the best.
See, that's the problem. Liberian Girl on Thriller or on Off the Wall beat wise.
Yeah, it don't even register. I don't even know. I mean, honestly, man, I don't even know if some of those songs that are standouts on Bad even make it on Thriller. I mean, what people have to understand is this is what Thriller's lineup is.
The way you make me feel could go on Thriller. I feel like
I don't know, because what happens with if you
put the same kind of feel.
If you put that song in the mix, you're gonna have to make a choice between that song and PYT, and PYT gets that one.
Oh, no. We're not replacing PYT with.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's kind of what they were doing with the Thriller sessions. It was like they would have songs that kind of give you a similar feel, and one of the two got to make it. And yeah, that song will be up against PYT, and PYT is going to get that every single time.
Oh, hell to the no.
Because this is what the lineup for that album looks like. Wanna Be Starting Something, Baby Be Mine, The Girl Is Mine, Thriller, Beat It.
Get rid of the records. You can get rid of Baby Be Mine and The Girl Be Mine.
Nah,
Go ahead and
Baby Be Mine.
give me a little Dirty Diana. Give me a little Dirty
I
Diana.
don't think Dirty Diana fits in that fold, because what would happen with Dirty Diana?
There is no groupie love song without Thriller. That's how big Thriller is. Got Mike talking about
sonically. No, if Dirty Diana's thrown in the mix, sonically you have to pick between Beat It and Dirty Diana. Dirty Diana's not winning that one. Beat It's gonna get that.
No, Thriller's one. I mean, Mike, Thriller's top 5 album, right?
So that's what I'm saying. Album. Like, if we sit here and look at Bad and match it up, like, I don't think any of those records make it on there, because Liberian Girl is probably gonna have to be chosen between Lady in My Life, right?
Hell no.
And it's not making it.
And you're right. Human Nature is like tap dancing on there.
No, yeah, exactly. You go pick Liberian Girl or Human Nature. No, Human Nature makes the album.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, and then the lineup is what? Beat It, Thriller, Billie Jean, Human Nature, PYT, Lady in My Life.
There's definitely no damn Billie Jean on Thriller.
No, it's not.
No Billie Jean. I mean, there's no Billie Jean on Bad. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know
there's no Billie Jean on.
And yeah, if you want to talk about groupie, that's the groupie song on there. If we want to go subject wise, so it's like, okay, Dirty Diana or Billie Jean. Billie Jean's making the album. Yeah, none of that stuff on Bad's even making the album. So if you put
Billie Jean seemed more like a tawdry affair than groupie love. Just a little reference point.
Okay. Go. So if you submit the song Bad, then that has to go up against Wanna Be Starting Something. Wanna Be Starting Something wins that one. I just don't feel like any of those records on Bad would even make Thriller.
No, you're right. I say this respectfully, though. There are records on Purple Rain that wouldn't make Thriller, and vice versa. Like, that's how great the albums are. It's like that Baby Be Mine shit, that ain't making Purple Rain.
I think Take Me With You is that.
Don't you talk about Take Me With You.
No. You know how I feel about Baby Be Mine. That's actually my favorite song on Thriller, personally.
Don't keep Take Me With You. Like, Take Me With You and Computer Blue is my shit on Purple Rain, actually. Yeah. I love Darling Nikki, though. Darling Nikki's a great groupie love song, too. Darling Nikki or Dirty Diana? That's a great question. What would you say?
I'm going to go Dirty Diana slightly, but not by
I think I'm going Darling Nikki because of the whole masturbating with magazines comment.
I'm not mad at that.
It's bar work. That's bar work, Mike. Cream writing skills.
I think from a song standpoint, though, the first song that I would cut on Thriller, I'm not to say I would cut it for real, is The Girl Is Mine, and that's a classic. Without that record, you don't have The Boy Is Mine with Brandy and Monica. You don't have a whole lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I was just talking about how, like, The Beautiful Ones is like almost 6 minutes long. I'd be like, yo, Prince, like, I love you, dude. Like, wrap it up.
The Beautiful Ones is incredible. The L Web with the super chat says, Bad is classic to me. Speed Demon is flames. Speed Demon would definitely not make it on Thriller or Off the Wall.
I don't know if Speed Demon makes it on Dangerous either, Mike.
It might not.
It might not make Dangerous.
I personally think, unpopular opinion, I think Dangerous is a better album than Bad. I do. I'm sorry, I do.
You can't be outside saying stuff like this, man.
I do, man.
Remember the time, Mike. No,
because I was listening to.
Now, Remember the Time's better than everything on Bad.
Oh yeah, I was listening to Who Is It, right? And so I was playing Who Is It, and then it goes into Give In to Me. Then it goes into the Free Willy record. I'm like, this is a great little run right here. Then it goes into what's the name of that song? It's kind of like his version of Man in the Mirror. Now, I will give Man in the Mirror credit. There's not a Man in the Mirror on Thriller or Off the Wall.
Mike, I'd like to let all these other rap podcasts know right now, they getting bodied by some singer niggas. Go ahead, keep going.
Jay Short with the super chat says, don't sleep on Mary J. Blige. She may have 5 classics too.
No. No. She's got, what's the 411? She's got My Life. She's got Share My World. The Mary is a possible. I personally love the Mary album, though. Like, I personally think the Mary album's a classic. I don't think that's a consensus opinion, though.
Eric Terrell says, Purple Rain washing Thriller. Do a song for song.
We have done that
We've
before.
done that before, but we could do one real quick. We know it off top. So let's go
No,
crazy.
we're not doing that again. We're not doing that again.
I think I scored it 5-4. Thriller.
See, here's the reality of the matter. It really comes down to
Billie Jean or
When Doves Cry.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to.
How you feel about Billie Jean or When Doves Cry really determines how you feel. I feel When Doves Cry is the most original big hit record I've ever heard. And so I give it the nod.
I feel like that about Billie Jean.
Right. So it's all about how you feel about it, because it's like when I listen to that hook, I'm like, what kind of cocaine is that he's on? Like, what the hell? Like where'd he get that from? Because it's the hook. Like, for me, it's the hook and the fact that he did it without a bass line. And so I told you, like, that's like, it's the hook for me, and the no bass line part. It's like, man, you made this shit slap without a bass line? We black,
No, it's an incredible record.
And the fact that the original version had a bass line, and he had the creative genius to be like, take the bass line out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he heard both, I'm sure, and was like, okay, sounds better this way,
Right. So I would take When Doves Cry, but every time we do this, Mike, it comes down to Billie Jean and When Doves Cry. So it's about how you feel about, Monster first hit single records. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like Game Monster records.
Michael had never made anything like Billie Jean at that point. Or
Prince had never made anything like When Doves Cry. Like nothing. Like, people don't understand. Like, sound wise, when those records came on, it was nothing like anything they had previously done before. It's like, what the fuck is that they on? You know what I'm saying?
That bass
guitar, like that guitar intro to When Doves Cry. Like, no, that's some of the best guitar playing of his career up until that point.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that bass line on Billie Jean.
Right. Then you hear the rest of Purple Rain, like, well, this is some of the best guitar playing, like, period.
Yeah.
Dot. So yeah, they kind of hit a zone. So it's like, it's how you feel about the records. Little Pray for Paris talk before we get out of here.
Yeah. Pray for Paris celebrating 3 years, 3rd year anniversary for this classic album. Many of you might not have heard this album, but Pray for Paris, if you press play on it, is a classic album. Now, this is what I wanted to kind of follow up on since it's 3 years later. It was one of our earlier shows when we actually reviewed it the night that it came out. Do you feel any different about Pray for Paris now? How is it aging?
Mike, I believe we have been doing this show for not even 2 whole months when Pray for Paris came out. You told me, because I remember I started hitting you on Thursdays. And I'd be like, what's up? And you're like, Westside Gunn's coming out with an album. You're familiar with him? I was like, yeah. I was like, I remember Blind Tell. He's done some stuff. And you sent me the album cover and the track list. And I remember texting you back, and I was like, Mike, this looks like a classic rap album. I was like, it has the look of a classic rap album to me when I look at this cover and I look at the names of these records and who's on these records. I said, this looks like a classic. Do you want to know what for me, it's the surprise album of this modern era, because never before have I felt that way about an album from this era and cut the fucking album on, Mike. And it was actually what it looked like.
Yep.
And the features sounded like what they were supposed to sound like. It was like, because, I'm thinking things like, he got Wale with him. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at the title and it's like Pray for Paris. And it's got, stuff like No Vacancy. I'm like, oh, Euro Step. Mm-hmm. French Toast. I'm like, oh no. I'm like, let's go. And then when I heard No Vacancy come on, Mike, I told you, by the time No Vacancy goes off and George Bondo comes on, I'm like, oh shit, I think we got a classic on our hands. In the album, and by the time I was done, I was like, and from the outro, when he's had him tap dancing on The Blow and had Savion Glover come in and literally tap dance to end the album, I was like, yeah, that's how you start a classic and how you finish a classic. It's a classic in the middle. There's nothing wrong with this album, Mike. The production is airtight. He, for whatever you think about him as an MC, no, he is lyrically tight on this album. Go listen to George Bondo and Eurostep.
Yeah.
What's the other joint by himself that I like? Versace, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
No, this album a classic.
This
400-pound ounce. What do you say? $500 ounces or something like that? Was it 500-pound ounces or something like that?
Yeah.
With Gibbs?
Oh yeah.
Oh no, stop playing with me, Mike.
Yeah.
327 with Tyler and Joey. Better stop playing with me, Mike.
$500 ounces.
Mike, the two Griselda records, like Allah Sent Me and George Bondo, are two of the 10 best records they've ever done together. Like those three, those are two of their 10 best records together. George Bondo still might be the record, Mike.
It is.
George Bondo's the like it's like, what does Griselda sound like? It's like, cut that George Bondo on, please.
I mean, what can I say that you haven't said? I will say that this album, to me, really set this Griselda movement in motion. Obviously, they had records before this, but when this dropped, all this Griselda taking over the game and changing the game stuff became a thing. You know what I mean? And not to mention that, Westside put out 2 other albums in that same calendar year, but it wasn't this. And Conway put out, From a King to a God, which was incredible, but it still wasn't this.
This is how great this album is. We just got done calling the album a classic, and DJ Premier did a track on here, and we didn't even talk about it. That's how great this album is. I don't know a lot, Mike. I know a masterpiece when I hear it.
Oh,
though.
yeah.
Like anybody that's
no,
real talk, Mike. Anybody that's known me, like I've told you, I was telling a homie of mine the other day, it's like, so many people have told me, it's like, you've been doing this your whole life. We've been like looking to you to like call stuff like, you know what I'm saying? Like, no. I know that album is a masterpiece. There's nothing anybody can like say to me. I'm not pivoting off of it. I'm not turning. I don't care. I don't want to hear that. I don't like his voice stuff. I don't want to hear none of it. This album's a classic through and through.
It is. It is. Would you say that George Bondo's the best song on there? I think.
Just on some pure rap shit, yeah.
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 Yeah, this one, like you said, it feels different. When you press play on this album, it feels different. It's a classic. And I mean, and like I said, as great as I think From a King to a God is, it doesn't feel like this one. And I think that, from 2020 on, I still think this is the best hip hop album to come out in the 2020s.
I whipped it with the left, lifted with the right, whipped, 3/4 lift mink at the tink fight. Your shit stepped on, get your yay right. I bro your blames out in broad daylight. Boom, 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 boom. No, that's classic. That's how the album starts, Mike. No.
I think I'm about to put this album on now, man.
I'm about to play Pray for Paris, man.
And you guys should play Pray for Paris today, too. It's 3rd anniversary. It's Redman's birthday. I'm going to probably play some Muddy Waters and stuff, too. So,
what's Redman's best album? It's still Muddy Waters, right?
To me, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, hit that like and subscribe. Appreciate y'all checking in with us on a Monday. We wanted to clean up from Friday because we didn't even cover the Black Thought album. I think we had a great discussion about it. And we got some new music coming at the end of the week, I'm sure. And be on the lookout for this cypher, man. We should have that uploaded in the next day or so.
Yay.
All right.